Okay, let's turn generic shirt into our genuinely unique shirt. So, how are we going to do that? Let's revisit our reference for a second. We want this kind of effect here, okay? This kind of poofy sleeve thingy-majiggy. Now, it's up to you how extreme you want to go with this type of sleeve, but I'm just going to have a halfway point between a normal kind of sleeve and this one. This is a bit too big. Okay, so if it's a bit big, it's a bit too aristocratic. So I want to keep it very much kind of like French cavalier style. Okay, so it's not going to be as large as that. So how are we going to do this? Well, first of all, what we've got to do is we've got to select our sleeves we've just created. And we have to make sure that symmetric pattern is applied under applied linked editing. So that when we change one, the other changes with it. Yeah, Marvelous Designer. There we go. Thank you, Marvelous Designer. And this is the funny bit. Bear with me, okay? We're gonna come in here, and it's gonna look oddly bizarre, but stay with me. We're gonna click that line. I'm gonna right-click and split it. Now it's up to you. You can split it. Let's say maybe depending how big you want it. And looking at our concert data, it really isn't that substantial. We could try 40%. Okay, there's a split there, and we'll do the same on the other side. And we'll make sure the ratio split is the same, 40%. Press OK. And you guessed it, we're literally going to pull them out quite a bit. We'll pull it out by 52, why not? 50-ish. Okay? You might be thinking, goodness me, what have we done? Don't panic. Now we're going to go to our curvature, and we're going to curve them back in. And you can be quite extreme with this. You can just play around. Don't be too stressed, don't be too finicky about this process. And we want to kind of bell these out a little bit, so maybe about 160 and 160. Okay, now you've got this weird shape. What does that do on a 3D view? Let's have a look. Right, okay, so you can see there what it's done is essentially made that very poofy at the end there. Okay, now of course with gravity and the way the characters pose, it's going to sag there, but as you can see, as we start to kind of adjust it and pull a little bit more over to that side, you've got that natural volume there now. Now it's up to you if that's a bit too much. If it's too much, then obviously you can change it, okay? I think what I will do is I'm just going to kind of edit the curvature of the points a little bit more. I'm not going to make this so extreme, I'm going to make it a bit more subtle, especially on this side there. Because I do want the shirt sleeve to be quite large as it goes down, so it's quite tight at the top, but quite large as it comes down. So yes, there's a bit more volume there. There you go. So you see that's a bit more what I was looking for there. Okay, quite simple really, isn't it? Quite nice. It's a nice effect, but it's very, very simple to do. It's great. It's like simple origami, right? It's lovely when you look at a nice pattern and you go, oh, I'd like to make that, and then you look at the instructions for it and it's nice and simple. Lovely. It all came together. Okay, what's next? Well, I want to go ahead and address the collar. Now, it's funny I say that because when we were doing the concert art, I really couldn't care. And to be quite honest with you, we still don't need to care that much because she's got the lacy cravat thing covering it. But you know what? Just to go ahead and make it nice and complete, let's go ahead and say she's got like a very kind of, well, typical collar. Okay, she's got this kind of closed collar there. Okay, we could just give it like a very small V-neck type thing. And that can be enough there. So what we could do here is, well, is it V-neck? No, we don't need to give it any V-neck. But what I think I will do, just to help us out a little bit, I'm just going to space these out a bit more. Okay, and I'm just going to create a very thin rectangle down the middle, and you can guess what that is for the buttons. Okay, so we're going to actually destroy some sewing that we had in previously. We're going to right click that, we're going to delete sewing. And you can see there that by default Marvelous Designer is thinking, oh, do you want me to apply that sewing pattern reference to it? Nope. Apply the shirt material. And to be all honest with you, we can get rid of that now. We don't need that anymore. Okay, we've used it. It served its purpose. Thank you. And it's moved on. And now we'll stitch this as the new center point there. Okay, so that's going to cause a little bit of a complication in the shirt, but don't worry about it. It's fine. It's required. So let's go ahead and press spacebar. And there you go. Okay, fabulous. Right, so what that's going to do now is going to give us a little bit of a kind of, what can we say, a little bit of an easier time with the collar slightly. Okay, so if we go ahead now, we're just going to draw a rectangle. And we'll do a little bit of measuring. The collar wants to be 86 plus 59. So 86 plus 60. So we'll just round it up. That is about 146. Okay. So what we're going to do there is we're going to draw a rectangle. That's, oh, excuse me. Rectangle. That is 146 long. In fact, let's just click that. And we'll do width 146. And height can be something like, I don't know, 20. Or maybe, yeah, 20 is okay. That's good. Right. Okay, and that's going to form the basics of our kind of collar. Alright, that's going to wrap around there. So what we can do now is we need to split this into 4 sections. So we're just going to split the bottom part, split it, uniform split by a factor of 4. Okay. So you can see I've already done the maths oopsie here. We actually do need to double the length of this. So you can see this is why I didn't take maths. Not very good at it. So let's see, we can change. It has to be 146 times by 2. So that's going to be, oh, say 150, 300-ish. Okay, let's go for 300. So 300 wide and 20 tall. Sorry about that, guys. Well, it's a bit extreme. We'll shrink it down. We'll eyeball it a bit more. Okay, shirt material. Fantastic. Now we'll split this into 4 sections. Split. There we go. Split. Uniform split. 4. Fantastic. Okay. So let's go ahead and we'll position this using our show arrangement points. We'll select the neck. Okay, obviously we've got to move that quite a fair bit down. And you can see there, yep, it's going to roughly fit quite well. Okay, let's just go ahead and we'll do a rough stitch. We'll stitch that to that segment there. And you can see it's a little bit different in terms of the size and the length of the edges. But like I said, if they're roughly similar, that will be fine. Okay, and then we'll stitch that to there. And we'll stitch that to there. Okay. Let's go ahead and simulate. There you go. Okay. So this is not our actual collar. This is just an extra bit there. You can see it's already folding over. So now what we can do is we can go ahead and we can copy. Well, we're not going to copy, but basically we're just going to draw another one slightly bigger. So you can use the squares to measure it out if you like. Something like that. Still got that old material, interestingly. And what we can do with this, we can actually kind of change the curvature of this, but essentially all we want to do with this one is put it into position again. So let's bring our arrangement points and we'll use the back of the neck same way. There we go. Okay, we want this to fold over, so let's check what edge that's going to be, and you can click there. You see a little blue dot, so it's the bottom edge, and then we'll just sew that to there simply. Okay, what that's going to do is it's just going to fold over essentially. Okay, so if we simulate that, you can see it's not folded over yet because we do have to go to this tool here, fold arrangement, and we do have to tell it to just fold down in on itself like such. And there you go, you've got a collar. Not a fabulous collar because we need to style it a little bit. Okay, how are we going to do that? Well, we can do that by basically raising these points here, and just go ahead and select the points both at the same time. You may choose one to kind of split it in the middle. Type in 50. There we go. And you just want to maybe bring these forward a bit. You want to jut them forward. Hello, point. Thank you. Jut them forward a little bit. And you may want to just move them out. Oop. I don't know, 14 or something like that. Okay, so we've got a bit more of a stylized kind of collar now. You can see that's a bit better. And of course, if you want to do some curvature, you can. If you want to make that a curved one, you can just essentially select that line, go to curvature, and just make that curved. And you can also curve that too. But don't curve it as much, just be careful. There you go. Okay, so that's a bit more of a typical collar that we're expecting to see. Alright. And of course, if you change the height of this one here, it will change the overall height of the collar. So if you want a particularly high, excuse me, hey, collar, behave yourself. Right, wasn't finished my explanation there yet. If you want a particularly high color, of course, you can make this taller, and in so doing, you're actually going to make the collar sit a little bit higher up like that. Okay, so again, it's up to you what you want to do. So I think I'm quite a fan of the high color, so I'm going to make it a bit a bit big, bit gargantuan. See what we get, see if I like it. Yes, Marvelous Designer, hello. Yes, thank you. Yes, maybe that's a little bit too comically big. So let's bring that down a bit. Again, it's a lot of tweaking until you get it right, until you get what you want, essentially. Okay, yeah, that doesn't look too bad. Okay, now this is just for, well, I just kind of wanted to show you how to make a collar, to be honest. This is probably going to get in our way when we come to doing the actual sculpting for the vest that goes around it, because of course we're not going to need this. Okay, we're going to have another vest on top of this, so we don't need that actually there. Another thing that I'll do here is I'm just going to go ahead now, and I'm just going to take a rectangle here, and I'm just going to draw another rectangle roughly that size there, and I'm just going to make that the sleeve end, if you like. Okay, so if I go to my 3D view where I've created that, go to my arrangement points, I'm just going to wrap that around the sleeve. Okay, and move it a bit further down. There you go. Make sure it's stitched to itself on the other side, and of course make sure that's stitched together as well. Okay, so if we hit spacebar, there you go. You've just got like an extra segment there. Okay, fabulous. And we'll do that for the other side too. So let's Control C, Control R to reflect that. We'll bring it over right here. Now it's already stitched to itself. We need only stitch it to this part here. And so make sure it's in roughly the right area in the 3D view, just so we avoid any simulation glitches. Press spacebar. Fabulous. Okay. Now the reason why I wanted to do this is because let's say we've got a nice height. So actually where it is right now is quite a nice height in terms of where the poofiness kind of sits right there on the forearm. So what I can do now is right click that, and you guessed it, I can freeze it so it stops moving. Okay, and I can do the same for this side. Now we're free to play with this bagginess area here. Okay, it can even overlap a little bit, so let's maybe unfreeze that. We'll move it up slightly higher, and you can see as soon as I unfreeze it, it immediately wants to change its position. Okay, so a bit higher yet. There we go. And now we'll freeze it. Fabulous. So now we can actually pull this down and over it, like so, to create that. Again, a very similar effect to what we did with the trousers. Okay, wonderful. Right, the only other thing I want to do is I kind of just want to keep that shirt pulled down. Bring it down. Right, stay there. Stop floating back up again. Okay, so another thing as well, remember those sharp edges? I'm not happy with these kind of curved kind of edges there, so all I'm going to do here is I think I'm going to change the style of it ever so slightly. And by ever so slightly, I actually mean quite drastically. But essentially, I want to have, and this is just a bit of flair, okay, so split that, and let's split it with 30%. Just making this up as I go along. And it should reflect on the other side. Fabulous. And it's going to bring that down. I'm going to make this quite sharp. Maybe not that sharp. There we go, something like that. Okay, so it's going to have this kind of curvature style to it there. But I also want this to be pretty sharpish, but not ridiculously sharp. Something like that. Okay, and I actually want to sort of bring it quite low. Yeah, something like that. Again, this is just changing the design a little bit, so it's a bit more interesting. Okay, and let's bring those points a little bit lower down, or maybe a bit higher up. Okay, and then we could do the same for the back, although the back we're not really going to see. So let's just go ahead and do it anyway. Let's split it. We'll split it this way, line 2, 30. It's funny, my numpad doesn't seem to work sometimes. 30. Yes. Fabulous. Bring it down. Okay. And again, just tweaking it. Again, not that much. Marvelous designer. Don't get overzealous now. Moderation, moderation. That's what helps us. Right. Okay, what does that do? It kind of gives it like very vampire-ish kind of like Batwing style, but I don't know. Maybe you think it's goofy. I don't think it's too bad. That's okay. It'll be kind of tucked in their trousers anyway. You won't see it. Okay. Right, so that's a pretty good shirt for the time being. The only other thing I want to do is I want to make these shoulders. You know, I talked about it before in the concept art there. I want to make the shoulders quite what's the term? Quite sharp. So how can we do that? Well, one way to do it is to actually make this point quite tall. Okay, so it's got linked editing, so that's okay. Let's go ahead and we'll just make it a little bit taller and see what that does for us. And you can see already it's reflected in the 3D view. It's a little bit higher there, so we should get a bit more of a sharper shoulder. You can see it just sort of forming there a little bit if you play around with it. Okay, and if you bring it over, of course, so it sits over a little bit more, you can get that effect. Okay. Now, of course, you could also move these down a little bit, move them across, make them a bit wider. That would push the shirt a little bit further down. And the back, you could do the same for the back. Okay, just kind of moving where that seam is a bit, and there you go. You're starting to get that effect there like that, which actually is not too bad. It might be a bit extreme, maybe. I'm not sure, but I do think I like it. You see, we've got straighter shoulders now. That's quite nice. I don't know, I always seem to appreciate that instead, because that's like a nice kind of gown. I like looking at that kind of straight edged thing there. But I do think it might be a bit too extreme, so we'll pull it down a little bit. And again, that linked editing is really lovely because you just have to do it for one side and the other side updates itself. Aha! You, pull up. Okay, maybe not that much. Relax, relax, relax. It's all extremes, Marvelous designer sometimes. There you go. Right. Okay, that's what we wanted. There you go. And then now our collar's a little bit wonky, but like I said, the collar is not the important part here. Okay, that's fine. Okay, right, so all that's left to do now is actually see what our fabric folds look like, okay? But just before we finish this out here, can you see, if we had not fixed that curved arch in her back, could you imagine now what this would have looked like? It would have been a huge amount of slack at the bottom here, which is simply not what we wanted, okay? And actually, I just realized the belt's probably going to be around there, so the shirt does have to be longer still. So let's just go ahead and we'll tweak that now, and we'll just pull that. Oh, hello, careful, careful, mouse. Mouse, control yourself, please. Bring it a bit lower down. There you go, something like that. Okay, maybe it's a bit ridiculous of this now. We'll just pull that down a bit more. And what is going on here? Excuse me. Excuse me. There you go. Maintain your shape. There you go. Whoa, hello. Excuse me, Marvelous designer. You just have to laugh with it, guys. You just have to appreciate it. It's great software, but this is the fun part of it. There you go. That's a little bit tall, isn't it? I feel like that's almost like you could just about see it above her trousers. So let's fix that too. Let's make this a little bit lower. Otherwise, she's going to be revealing some parts of her body she really didn't think she would. Okay, that should be okay. There you go. Alright, okay. There you go, it looks good. Okay, looks alright so far. Right, I don't want to make this video too long. We'll keep it there. Hopefully you can play around the style a little bit more. Do play around the shoulders and whatnot and all this kind of extra stuff. And the poofiness there. Absolutely go do that. Play with the collar a little bit. But all I want to do now in the next video is actually put the particle distance down to 5 and actually just check the folds before we go ahead and throw it over. Or we say we call it done and then carry on with the vest.